We had a fine conversation yesterday with some notable Nigerians on the square, talking about the 2023 elections. Well, elections just might be 2 years from now, but it looks so close, closer than close, because the issues that will shape that particular election are still dominating the discourse in and around the square. Welcome, I'm Sulai Aledeh, and today we're talking about that journey towards 2023 with some Nigerian youth. Previous elections in Nigeria have proven that more than individuals, Nigerians are big followers of parties. Now, while this has produced good results at times, it is still one of the greatest challenges facing the Nigerian electorate. Without fear, ideologies and approach to governance, Nigerian politicians have often been seen to move to the team or party that presents the better option. Now, the days and months leading to elections see cross-carpeting from one party to the other, mostly to get the nod for seats. Now, the choices of these parties may be in stark contrast with the wishes of the people. But time and again, the freeness, fairness, and credibility of a Nigerian election are always up for questioning. The electoral umpire, that's INEC, has announced February 2023 dates for the general elections, and preparations have begun. So Nigerians are looking towards its electoral umpire to make their votes count. They have faith in the ballot, but INEC is in a battle to earn the trust of the people. Now, joining me now is Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour. He's a public policy analyst and someone who's also not new to elections in Nigeria. And of course, he's also an architect. He was the PDP 2019 Lagos West senatorial candidate. Emerie Agunwah, he's a political expert and a member of the Alliance for New Nigeria Party's governorship candidate as well for the 2019 elections in Imo State, which is southeast of Nigeria. Later on the show, I'll be joined by Patience Ndidi Key, a former chairman Nigerians living in a Diaspora Organization in the United States, and also she's the Chief Executive Officer, Key Health Solutions, also in the US. Gentlemen, good to see you both again. This is 2021.
Good to see you. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening. Good to meet with you.
Let's start with, Gbadebo. You had a fantastic run. Yeah, I also covered that election. I spoke to you before that election. Let's start with your experience and see how this will form our conversation on the square.
Okay. Well, within the party, I had a very good experience. We had leaders that were very open to embracing youth running for position. It was a time where the not too young to run fever was all over, and it was something that was very well embraced by leaders in my party, the PDP Lagos. In relation to the actual election, you'll find that, in my opinion, there was a lot of mishandling of the election in the favor of the current party, ruling party's interests. So you find that places where there were PDP strongholds, there was a lot of inconclusive elections that were happening there. But then in places where the APC did reasonably well, elections were announced early and people were able to see the results. But you look at what happened in places like Jeremy Felodun, Oshodi Solo, or Jo, there was an attempt to suppress votes to a very large extent. All of us saw what happened in Okota, Oshodi during the 2019 election, where NERTW thugs came and destroyed people's ballots and burnt it in front of them and things like that. So I look forward to a better coordinated, more secure election come 2023. I was also part of the Ondo Campaign Council for the last election, and I was very impressed with the fact that INEC was directly uploading polling unit results to their server, and it was possible to actually collate from their server. That was a very welcome development, and is a step that I'd like to see move forward.
Well, it's a fine place for us to kick off. But before that, I'll come back to you, Gbadebo. Let me go to Emerie. You know, a lot of people were excited seeing you in 2019 running for governorship in your home state of Imo in southeast of Nigeria. Just like Gbadebo, what was your experience like? Was it a fine one? Was it something you look forward to improving upon?
Okay, thank you very much. My experience in the election is pretty interesting because it was basically my first attempt at electable office. But one thing I realized is that there's a certain level of hunger in the town for proper leadership. Okay, seems like the masses are tired of vague promises and open-ended arguments. Seems like we're having same conversation, just same thing all the time. So I have a feeling that during the campaign, I felt it was time for change, positively, not the change we have, but I felt it was the time everything was speaking for change. We need to start having intelligent arguments, intelligent conversations around governance. Okay, getting credible persons into electable office. So when I ran, I saw the hope in the faces of the masses. I saw optimism. I saw the future. I can see hope in their eyes. I can see the hunger. I can see the anticipation, the enthusiasm. Like there's a lot of hope in the atmosphere. And for me, it was it gave me a lot of joy. It also gave me a lot of confidence to know that we can do this again. Okay, maybe the strategy might change a little bit, and maybe we might also take it a little bit more serious. Not as if we didn't take it serious the last time, but probably be a lot more intentional on how we execute our operations. But I can see that Nigeria is at the precipice of change. We are looking at a better country. This generation is hoping for, proper leadership. So for me, my experience is quite reaffirming and reassuring that the country as it is tired of the status quo. It's time for growth. It's time for the next generation to take on the helms of our leadership.
Okay, let me jump in here because Gbadebo said something about the electoral umpire, and he's also given us his experience in Ondo State, which is in the southwest of Nigeria, talking about the electoral umpire. A lot of Nigerians were excited seeing their umpire, giving out a website whereby people can actually log on, and they were seeing election results being uploaded in real time. So, Gbadebo, what should this umpire be looking to improving upon from past elections? Because that wasn't the general election as observed in Ondo. So, talking about general election, do you think that can actually pass?
Increase the pressure on the National Assembly to pass the electoral bill. That'll be a major win for democracy and the journey of this country on the path of democracy. We need to sort of formalize these innovations. So for instance, making sure that the card reader is formalized in our electoral bill and uploading data directly from the polling unit. So in that regard, you start to drift away from where you have some officers colluding with the police or colluding with particular politicians at a collation center at a local government or at the ward level. There's a lot more transparency. People can look at their polling unit results and see what is on the server and directly analyze if this is a free and fair election. So we want to see more of that. obviously there'll be challenges with places that are more rural, places that might not have internet facilities compared to places that do. But these are challenges that they should try and meet head on to take our democracy significant steps further.
You know, you said something, but let me bring in Emerie here because Gbadebo said something about that fever leading up to the 2019 election in Nigeria. It was that hashtag and phrase, not too young to run. And he saw a lot of, for the very first time in the history of Nigeria's politics, we saw more young people coming onto the fray. Do you think there are things that these young Nigerians don't understand about politicking in Nigeria? Because if you go back to 1999, we witnessed quite a number of young people as well who ran for elections, those who were in their late 30s and early 40s, who went on to became governors. What are those key things you thought your generation of new politicians, new breed politicians, missed out in the last election?
Okay, so I think we learned a lot, not like we missed out, because it was a learning curve for a lot of us. First of all, is our introduction to the system. We understand that the system is different from what we expected from outside. Probably you expected something a little bit more standardized and systemized. But we got to realize that's a little bit on the guerrilla angle. Okay, so I think one of the things that we learned, we're going to deploy, not opening up our trade secrets for the next election, is to understand that the system as it is, we must break it. Okay. Now, I tell you, we are mastering the system, but one thing I can assure you is that the system has no idea where the youth are going to come from this time around. Okay. Now we expect a lot of standardization, a lot of system. We went for the PVC, or hoping that the PVC thing would count. And I can tell you something categorically. INEC as an umpire needs to be really independent. Okay, and if it's going to be independent, they need to separate themselves from state. And even though INEC does not want to be independent, I can tell you, we have a lot more persons that are going to be streaming live. We have a lot more persons who have access to internet and smartphones. Okay, and it's not going to be business as usual in the 2023 elections, because even if we try to force it down, even if the system wants to force it down on the next generation, force their ideology and their plans on the next generation, for the first time, we're going to have parallel conflicts coming up on the media platforms. And it's going to put a lot of discredit to the system. So one of the things we've learned is that we had a lot of idealistic expectation when we ran. Okay, we hope that it's going to look like the Republicans and the Democratic election in the US. We expected a lot more of a sign-up, people campaigning for but now we realize that we're going to fold our hands, okay? We're going to get into the grassroots, because grassroots is where it happens. Okay, we're going to get down to the grassroots. We're going to explain the system. We're going to get our hands, not necessarily dirty, but yes, but a little bit get more involved and be strategic, not only idealistic, but also realistic. Okay, we need to understand how we're going to approach the powers that be. I tell you some of the challenges we have. Nigeria is in a place where people are hungry, so there's a lot of deep pockets. Deep pockets is required for to win elections. Now, basically, I do not have deep pockets. A couple of persons at my age bracket, we don't have deep pockets. But we are also making plans, okay, which I probably will not let out completely, so that, but the truth is that there are plans to mitigate against deep pockets, and also to ensure that we carry the future of this country to the next level. And we are sure it's going to happen from 2023, or starting from 2023.
Well, Gbadebo, listening to Emerie, he said something that your generation of young politicians didn't miss out. Instead, you learned a lot. even though you're not bringing out your next tactics, because we're looking ahead now for Nigeria, politically speaking. And there are key things here. The statistics of voter participation in elections is worrisome. And even though the young or the youthful population, they have the numbers, how can Nigerians be encouraged to vote? Because it would seem as if those who are around you, those very young Nigerians, Gbadebo, didn't come out en masse to cast their ballot for one of their own.
Yeah. So what we need to understand is that, like you said, a lot of young people, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's, a lot of young people that were governors back then, they created their own voter demography. Now, we as a generation must do the work to create a new voter demography, right? The people that are most affected by policy that's being made today, the people that go and pick up the tabs for all the loans that Buharis are borrowing, right? They are the people that are going to feel the effect of bad governance, and they need to get involved. But the issue is that this generation is coming from a generation before them that Nigeria has failed successively. So voter apathy, expectations of the government, the idea that your government will maintain a social contract with you is something that a lot of people have given up on. So that's why they don't bother to vote. Also, voter suppression, use of thugs. For instance, in Lagos, the murder of late engineer Funshaw Williams, the Oba threatening to drown people. These are things that make people just say, you know what, I'm not going to participate in these elections. Let them, they already know who is going to win. But that's not the truth, and that is not the case. Your vote does count. Once you come out in mass and cast a vote, there's very little rigging that can happen. And it is on us, the young politicians, the vanguard of this new generation, to go out, educate people, get them involved, show them that it is in their interest. More so in the South, where you see voter apathy at the highest compared to, for instance, the North. Nigeria as a whole needs to find balance, political balance, a situation where people are not giving people power, or conversations don't revolve around the idea that all the votes and power belong in the North, and we need to find a Southerner that, you know, can appeal to them to give them power. In that situation, you don't find merit and people with vision that can carry the North and South emerging. Instead, you find people that can just move the masses of the North. So the South needs to rise up to its responsibility as well, go to the polls, turn out in numbers so that we have a political balance. Once there is balance like that, the leaders that would emerge with people of vision, people that can carry the North and South along, because their vision, their antecedents, their capacity will now be on the table to no longer be a question that is just limited to numbers. So it is in the interest of Nigeria as a whole, for the young people that make up the majority of this country, and also with what you saw with NSAS, they have woken up. They realized that you cannot escape Nigeria. You cannot Niger-proof yourself. No matter what you think you're going to do, whether it's the Range Rover you're going to buy to escape potholes or generator you buy to sort out NEPA or send your children abroad, Nigeria will still get you. If there is bad financial policy and you cannot move your money out, Nigeria will get you. It will. So you need to get involved. And that's what we're pushing. And it's on all the young politicians that want to come out and want to make a difference, to go, like he said, to the grassroots, engage all our generation on the new platforms that we have.
Let me jump in here. I'll come back to Emerie. Let me jump in here, Gbadebo, and this is to you. You use the word grassroots because I can, off the top of my head, still see vivid pictures of you going around, even beyond Lagos West, canvassing for votes, selling your manifestos and programs. And a lot of youths were around you. Now, the question, I still insist, perhaps in going forward, how come that number that a lot of people saw around you didn't translate into a winning number for you? Is it that the Nigerian youth are more when you move or in the social media space? Because now that we move towards 2023 election, the conversation is heating up, especially in the social media space. How can young Nigerians get off that space and come to the real world?
Yes, fantastic question. So I ran for local government chairman in 2016. And I must be honest with you, at that point, there was hardly any interest in elections. Very few. When I go to talk to people, yes, there might be a large number, but a lot of them don't have voters cards. By 2019, that number had increased significantly for where it was coming from. And you know, sometimes adversity is needed to make people to stand up. Like we saw with the NSAR situation, the conversation has completely changed. People now realize the power of the government and how the government can affect you. So the first step is to push, as the church has done, as religious bodies have done in the last 3-4 years, to say politics is not for bad people. Politics is not just for the agberos and market women. It's for you. It's for you, the taxpayer that's funding this country. So get up, go get registered to vote. You'll find that a lot of people, especially in Lagos, were trying to get their voters cards. The system of releasing, registering was extremely inefficient for a state that has over 22 million people and has the largest registered number of voters in Nigeria. It was extremely inefficient. So these are things we're going to be pushing, and we're starting earlier now. It's not about emerging as a candidate before you start working. You need to start early. That's another thing that...
Let me let Emerie react to that before we start looking at possible solutions to some of these problems highlighted by both of you. Emerie.
Okay, so the youths so I tell you the truth, yeah? I would have thought that huge following on social platforms can translate to votes, yeah? But the truth is that the truth is that the model that Nigeria runs, INEC runs, okay, can't be trusted, okay? So you can come out in mass and vote. Well, look at last election, okay, between presidential election between PDP and APC. That's why they're contesting the elections, okay? No, PDP is still feeling that there should change in the game. And the truth is, even if we can get the youth to come out, I don't really want to get ahead of myself, but we can get the youth to come out to vote. But there's a question at the back of every youth's mind. Would my vote count? Okay, now, the truth is that we are seeing a lot of political moves by the person who are in charge of people in charge of INEC and co. The truth is that INEC needs to be really, really independent. This is not the first time the youths are voting. Look at Big Brother, for instance. The youth came out in mass to vote for the candidate of their choice, but they trusted the voting system. Okay.
Very quickly here. I think put this in. You just mentioned a show. Is it possible that the Nigerian youth is more comfortable with going the digital way? Because if that same voting was to go physical, do you think you see the numbers?
Absolutely, because what technology does is that technology puts a lot of credibility and transparency to the conversation. That's real time. You can manipulate it a lot, okay? And we have BVN to track people. We have a lot of things to ensure that the NIN is there to ensure validity of personnel. Even if there's error margin, it will be basically less than 0.5 or 0.05 or something, yeah? Now, all we're trying to say is that the youth are more digital inclined. We want something that is transparent. So far, we get a transparent system. And one of the things we're championing on our own strategy end is how to ensure that we start the reform from INEC. It's independent, okay? if we can get INEC to say, if I voted, let my vote count. Now, every now and then, I can tell you the last election, I saw a lot of ballot papers on the voters. I saw a lot of things. If you voted and you know that your ballot sheet is on the gutter, you don't have confidence. You don't want to vote again. It's risky. There are a lot of talks outside. But if it's something we can start getting the reform and the restructuring of INEC to be really independent, put a credible organization that has data analytics and data system and data support schemes. Okay, we have a lot of them. Some of them are multinational, some of them are local here. And that's a trust level. I tell you, it will shock you the landslide victory for the candidate of our choice. Okay, and I know that it might sound a lot more idealistic, but I believe that some of the things we're pushing is to get the ideal into reality. Okay, so there are strategies in place to get the right personnel in place of policy and decision making. Okay, and even if we cannot get it at the national, we're also putting things in place for state INECs, state INEC, and a couple of things, so that people can trust a system. I tell you, we might not get on 36 states all at once at 2023, but few states will be a lot credible that will give confidence to the youth to vote in the other states. Okay, I know elections is coming up for the local government, that is this year. Okay, a lot of them are going to be test run. Okay, you're going to see what will happen. We're trying to push for strategic moves. All we want to get is when you place your vote and say, this is my vote, and it's counted.
Let me bring in Gbadebo again. If all had gone well for you, Gbadebo, by now you would have been sitting in Nigeria's National Assembly as a lawmaker. Do you think, listening to both of you now, do you think you would have been pushing for electronic voting, process in Nigeria?
Most certainly. I feel the more you empower the people to take charge of the country and selecting their leadership, the more the voter outcome, the higher it is, the more it reflects the broader group of people in the country. You see, I say to people that the elected politician, is a reflection of the people that take electioneering seriously. Now, I hear everything that Emerie has said, and that is fine in relation to trying to push INEC to become more of an independent organization and institution. But this is what I firmly believe, because I experienced it. I experienced when in Amuodofin, the people came out in mass and voted, and we won there by a 15,000 margin. And there was nothing that they could do to rig that election. I saw it in Oyo State, where a sitting incumbent, the people of Ibadan, came out and decided that this person was not going to go to the Senate and his candidate was not going to be governor. And they came out and they made it happen. Power is in the hands of the people. The issue is that you can only rig where you are popular or where there's voter apathy. So if a lot of people don't come out for elections, then you can write the results. But if a lot of people come out, at the moment in Lagos State, the voter turnout, we have 6 million registered voters. The voter turnout is between 13 and 16%. That is pathetic. If it goes up to just 40 to 50%, you cannot rig that election. You cannot, because there are only so many zeros you can add behind the 10.
So in all of this now as we wind down, trying to project into the future, stop some of these key things, anomalies, which both of you have highlighted, what should politicians and people like yourselves be doing? Emerie, do you think now is the time for voter education, speaking to your people, the electorate, your party, and your constituents, letting them understand some of the key things about numbers, as highlighted by Gbadebo, giving the Oyo State example, where an incumbent governor who was trying to switch over to the Senate lost that election?
So I think that on the conversation for good governance is not just for election. It's something that should be ongoing. Okay, and left for me, my approach might be a little different, but I believe that I'm not a fan of the youth leading. Okay, I'm a fan of the competent leading. Okay, and we are also not going to pretend that we've got some persons who have got into offices and they are youths and they have given up. They've let the youth down. Okay, I will let not mention them. One particular name is trending all over social media. Okay, but one truth is certain: we must start explaining competence to people, expectation to people. What is expected from your leaders and what's not basically selling an age demography to them, okay, because these people are very important for this. Or we know old presidents who have done pretty well too. So I'm not basically for an age bracket. I am speaking for competence. Competence is when we have people with proven track record that they can do it, that showing what they have done before. Okay, that's one of the things you're pushing. If conversations on that, that's why I always tell a lot of my friends who are in politics that every day our actions, our inactions, okay, portray our competencies and also our incompetencies. Okay, people watch how we judge matters. People judge how we wade into issues of governance. People judge how we respond to political conversations, okay? And what we're trying to say is we must start having conversations around competent leadership and not just around age demography, okay? Let us start pushing competence, proper expectations. Okay, Nigeria needs to get out of the point where we are still arguing the North, the South. We're trying to argue religion, Muslim, Christian. Okay, we should be arguing competence. Who has the best plan for where we are headed? Where are we headed? Who is presenting this case for us? Who is trying to secure this country for us? Okay, now not just the beautiful manifesto that we are used to, like the administration that is presently on seat. Okay, we are trying to say the person you're leading, show us your antecedents. They prove that you can do that. Okay, we need to start getting some of this stuff in place because I tell you, 4 years is a long time for a wrong decision. It's very long. When we make a wrong decision, 4 years is pretty long for us to get back to the drawing board. I tell you.
Well, fantastic, fantastic, Sam. But sorry, I had to cut you there. I just wanted Gbadebo to weigh in so that we can wrap up this. 4 years is such a long time for any nation to make a very bad decision, he says. And now quickly here, looking forward towards 2023, what are those key takeaways you want to share with the electorates watching at the moment and even other Africans watching?
Yes, I feel that looking forward, the main thing that the electorate should look for in a leader is empathy and capacity. Some people talk about experience, but the question is also about experience in what? Lateef Jakonde is the best governor that Lagos State has produced in recent times. He was a journalist for most of his life, but he showed himself as an administrator beyond par because of the love that he had for his people. It was reflected in everything he did, in all the decisions he made. That's for the electorate. For the politicians, our job now is, with the experience that we've garnered, with the experience that we have, we must make a deliberate aim to demystify politics, to break it down into granular models that our generation and those coming after us can fully understand. They can grasp it. It's no longer this immaterial thing in the air that's just for older, rich, big men. You must have money to be a politician. We need to change that narrative completely. We need to take this message to everybody on every platform that we can, and we need to start now. The issue is people come out 6 months to the election and expect that the generation that has been brought up to be independent from birth, in the sense that we have our own security guard, we have our own generator, we send our kids to private school. There's nothing that the Nigerian state actually gives you. So they are brought up to be independent, and you just expect them that they will buy into a gospel of getting involved in fixing Nigeria. But now Nigeria has come to them. You can no longer escape it. So now is the time to stand. and we need to take this gospel to everybody so they understand how they can get involved, because that's what really matters now.
Well, it's a fine place to say many thanks for being such nice company, Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour, and of course, Emerie Agunwah. Many thanks and best wishes in your future endeavor. When we return here on the square, Patience Ndidi Key joins me to talk more on this journey by Nigerians towards the next election in 2023, as it also affects Nigerians living in diaspora. Join us again. Well, it's our home stretch here on the square. How important is the need to allow Nigerians in the diaspora vote in the next election? This will form our conversation with Patience Ndidi Key. Good to have you join us, and very delighted to see you again here on the square. Quickly, Nigerians in diaspora, like yourself in the United States, are also smart enough, excited, and also concerned about what is to come as the country journeys towards 2023. Tell us how this, truly worries you, looking at the plethora of issues that are dominating the discourse at the moment in Nigeria.
Thank you, Suleiman, for having me on the show again. Yeah, the discussion in regards to having Nigerians in diaspora voting has been for a long while. We really want to be a part of the voting system, not just due to the fact that we're contributing enormously to the nation's economy annually, but because we are part of Nigeria. We are Nigerians. Our origin is Nigeria, before we all decided to travel to different part of the world. We are first Nigerian before, all to be able to vote, it all lies within the legislation. It has to do with the law, the policies that have been put in place. There have been several meetings, deliberations with the diasporans and the government in different levels, and all we have heard so far is that it's been put in place. Measures are being put in place, and it will happen. We don't know when it will ever happen. One of the questions that's been asked is, who do you consider a diasporan? Are you looking at students as a diasporan? Are you looking at undocumented immigrants as diasporans? Who is a Nigerian diasporan? And that is easy to work out. It's really easy for us to work out, and that discussion has been, those answers has been given to them, both in physical discussions, in the papers, and in press releases, in actually writing to them formally, So that's where we are. We really want to be able to be a partake of the electoral process, because we are Nigerians. Countries that do not, small countries, have that happening with their diasporans. I see no reason why we should not be able to do that in Nigeria.
Patience, sorry to come in here. Listening to you, quite frankly, something comes to mind, and it has to do with that word diaspora, because you said, first, irrespective of where any Nigerian lives, he or she is first a Nigerian. And if you look at it critically, you don't get to hear Americans in diaspora, Chinese in diaspora, Japanese in diaspora. So everyone is a citizen of his country of birth first before any other thing. Do you think this conversation, how can this conversation be pushed through representatives who are here in Nigeria, knowing full well that Nigerians living outside Nigeria have contributed immensely to the growth of the country of their birth?
Yeah, well, there's no better way to push it either than the way that it has, it's been in the process by talking to those who can make the laws. We in the diaspora, we cannot make the laws, we cannot make the policy, but we can, put together ideas on how they can do it. In one of the papers that newspapers that I featured some time ago, I said, where there is a will, if the political will is there, there will be a way. We advise that, we look for INEC officers who are true, who will speak true to power. We have the diplomatic mission here. We can use those resources, those, buildings of infrastructure that we already have here. We have Nigerians in diaspora. We have a global organization like NIDO. We look for reputable individuals, members that can stand as electoral monitors or help out in whichever way that will help to move diaspora voting forward. When there's a will, among the political class, there will be a way. Not too long ago, CBN came up with initiatives on how the diasporans can get dollars when they send money from wherever they reside. Another one was, how the money can be taxed and several things like that. So it's very easy for those in power to come up with schemes, initiatives, ideas on how to get from what the diasporans is sending. But it's not easy for them to, put in quick measures for us to be able to vote. Time
and again, sorry to butt in, time and again, we've seen Nigerians, politicians and people in government, political appointees, make trips abroad. Some have come to the United States, where you are based at the moment. They've had conversations with Nigerians living there. Does this also come up when you get to meet some very senior politician visiting the United States?
Yes, it does. One of those, two of those meetings was when the president, President Buhari, came, I think it was in 2018. Then another visit was in 2019, I think it was in June, by the vice president. So we made that known to them that, this is what is still on the book for us, that we want to be a part of the electoral, so they want to be able to vote, So one thing is to be able to discuss, another is to also have, is a two-way game. Another is to also be speaking with diasporans who are really passionate, who believe in the nation, who believe in what we are actually talking about. It will make things work faster, So there's no perfection in the discussion that has been discussed. So there's a difference between discussing an issue and going around and looking for self-gain, self-trust, all those kind of things will make people feel as if diasporans are not serious or they don't really know what they want. So we want to really, pull this together and be able to reason with one another and have a good reason of not just wanting to vote because we want to vote.
One of the things, sorry, I'm just trying to put in a lot before we go because I'm excited about your viewpoints. One of the key things we have noticed from Nigerians in diaspora is the force, they have been able to exhibit, especially on social media. They have a very powerful voice on social media. Do you think that is enough to sway or more enlighten Nigerians here to making their choices in the next election?
No, it's not enough. I thank God for the age of the social media. We also have to be, in one way or the other, be on ground. We all can be on ground at the same time, but as soon as we have that opportunity, we should also be on ground, to influence things that needs to be influenced positively. And all those influence should be to the benefits of the nation. Politicking in Nigeria, just it's been in the in the aspect of who is the which political party is leading. Is this person from my ethnic group? Is this my religion? Is this person an Hausa man or a Muslim or a Christian and all that? All that really needs to stop. So we are doing what we're doing virtually on the social media, but we also need to be on ground. When we to be able to move things, forcefully and politely and in the way that it will favor the Nigeria itself and the people.
It will be very interesting to see how some of these key things you have raised, being someone who was one of the leaders of NIDO, Nigerians in Diaspora in the United States, and of course, an entrepreneur in the United States. Nigeria has actually also always reached out to Nigerians living outside Nigeria. For instance, the National Identification Number NIN registration. I'm quite sure many Nigerians living in the United States also got on that platform. Am I right?
Yeah, we were actually reached out when the idea was developed. That was still two years ago. Some of the contractors actually came and they invited me, as then I was still the chairman. The embassy invited me to, talk to them and see, what they want, how we can move things forward. It was just very simple questions. What's the value proposition?
I asked that question. I asked that because I'm thinking, I'm doing some future thinking now. If Nigeria as a country can reach out to this body of Nigerians living abroad to get such data, such information, they can also reach out to seeing how 2023 can be a game changer for the first time, seeing Nigerians living abroad, being a part of this coming election.
Thank you very much. I said that earlier. I said when it comes to things that benefits the politics, the elites, those in power, they find a way to get to you, and that's sad. That's selfish. That is really, really sad. It is really, really sad, and it does not represent the nation that we want to move forward. It does not represent us.
Now, talking about representation, the representatives of the country, Nigeria, talking about the embassy of Nigeria in the United States, do they also share in this, call by Nigerians living in the United States specifically for them to be a part of the electoral process?
Yeah, one thing we should understand is that the embassy and the consulates, they are civil servants. And civil servants will always, promote the need of those that brought them. They are nice people, they want things to function, but they have a limit. They have limitation. They hear our cry. They want us to be able to vote. They hear the voice, but they have a limitation. There's just not much they can do.
So it doesn't look like something that can be possible in 2023 for Nigerians outside Nigeria to vote.
Yeah, when there's a will, again, there will be a way. If the government, if the legislature, if those in power want to push the policy and make it a law, tomorrow they can do it. All we need is to define who is a diasporan. Even in the United States, those that are without documentation are referred the way they are referred, then we should say, okay, for right now, they are Nigerians. We can develop measures of how we can include them or not. Of course, students, they're here to school and they are documented. They are part of the diasporans. The diplomatic staffs already, we know where they are, and Nigerians know where they are. If they want them to be a part of this, why not? What they say they wanted again is a diaspora database. How many are we in the diaspora? What are the occupations of those in the diaspora? How many men, how many women, how many children? Those things are easy to put together. In few weeks to come, NIDO will be launching the database of, launching the database of Nigerians in diaspora. We're a platform where we want all Nigerians, starting from the United States, to go in and log in their information, for such purposes as having us collectively together, and we'll be able to tell our people, our leaders that here we are, we have this and we have that, and this is one of the measures that can help us sit and be a part of the elections.
Now, looking forward, what are those key things that worry you as a Nigerian? If you were here, that you would have loved to see a change, made as the country prepares for the 2023 elections?
Thank you for that question. A lot really worries me. I see it looks like we're still agitating for zoning. People want an Hausa man or Igbo man, or what is thinking of, having a particular ethnic group rule because this has not been this way. I think we should be thinking of, we should be using meritocracy. It should be by merit. I do not subscribe whether if it's an older, not an older generation, but somebody who has a passion, someone with a clear vision of what the country needs and align it to what he or she is bringing to the table. A man or a woman that has empathy, that has a level of integrity, a good level of integrity, a patriotic Nigerian, somebody who understands that leadership is all about service, somebody who understands servant leadership, who will feel the pulse of the grassroots,
who
understand what we are going right now and, be able, and also somebody who understands teamwork, because the president cannot do it alone.
Certainly, I think these are fine suggestions, and I'm hoping that Nigerians and those watching will abide by those key things. Well, it's a fine place for us to say many thanks. Patience, Ndidi Key, always a pleasure having you on the square. And Nigerians look forward to the 2023 general elections. It's the collective responsibility of Nigerians to ensure that they play their part in electing leaders that will reshape and reposition the nation for greatness. Sulai Aledeh, many thanks for being such nice company. And of course, the conversation continues on our Twitter.